It's been a very meaningful relationship that has been able to form, by way of running.
Let's run a race. Yeah, let's do this. How you doing? Good.
People look at us now and they see, like we're literally best friends. But for up until I would say about 2008, 2009, Cameron was absent a dad. We found out when Maya, his sister, was 9 months old that we were going to have baby number 2. I think, selfishly, every dad wants a son. I hunt, I fish, I love football, love all the things that, guys tend to do, and really look forward to doing that with my son as well. It seemed like to me from day one, there was just a real difference in his temperament and the way that he acted. And so I began to see things very pragmatically. I mean, I think, looking back on it, of course, as Lisa and I talk about it now, it's, I came to grips with it very early. She refused to kind of see what was there just through love and nurturing. I recall thinking, this is not what I envisioned having, a son would be like. There was every reason or every excuse in the book to kind of latch on to, but again, I'm very black and white, and for me, I began to separate myself emotionally from Cameron because I viewed him as different, and I really looked at him more so for what he couldn't do than ever seeing what he could do or what he was capable of. As I began to search for solutions, it was nothing was there to explain what I was seeing. I remember the first time, he was probably 2.5 years old, that I uttered the words autism out of my mouth, and that was over at my mom's house, and I thought my mom was going to come unglued. I mean, just because at that point all the world knew about autism was it was progression, and then it was marked by noted regression. There was just a real confusion, and nothing made sense to me, and so it's very easy in the absence of emotion that at least I had, and I think are probably a characteristic of a lot of men, to begin to kind of just kind of check out. It was 2004. The medical field would not even interview or begin the cycle of evaluating a child for autism until they were 3 years old. The day is kind of a blur looking back on it, but I remember the recap at the end of the day, getting the diagnosis of autism. At that time, our life was kind of beginning, or it was still continuing down the cycle that it had been over the last year to 18 months, which was, I was very invested in my daughter's life. I was divested from Cameron. I mean, I had no interest in plugging in or being, at all involved in his life, because it was just too, it was just too challenging. There was a point at which, she just made the statement, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go stay with Mom for a while. And I told her, I said, well, that's fine. I will fight you for Maya, but I will not fight you for Cameron. My fallacy looking back was always trying to point to and identify what Cameron couldn't do, not focus on what he could do. So really my desire to stay around was driven by not wanting to, again, growing up in a divorced household, I was committed to my kids, my daughter specifically, not having to go down that path. The beginning of the relationship became my ability to kind of fight for him and advocate for him in the school setting. You realize you have to meet him on his terms and find things that are of interest to him that he can relate to on his terms. I thought, well, I wonder if he would enjoy running with me. And that was a question that would that we haven't looked back on yet.
Many miles like this right here. Yeah.
So we kept running a mile at that point. We did the same, half mile out, half mile back. The The next week we went out to about 3/4 of a mile out and 3/4 of a mile back, so it was up to 1.5 miles, and I thought, you know, I wonder if he could run cross country. And I began to speak, I spoke to the school about whether he could run cross country and volunteered myself to be his guide, to, you know, be at practice or on race day to make sure everything went right. That way there wasn't, you know, any burden on the school system. I mean, they said yes instantly. They didn't even think twice about it. There is nothing like a relationship to be formed after running, you know, literally at this point, hundreds of miles together on the roads. But watching him come out of his social shell has been the most incredible experience over the last 3 years. You know, when he talks to me or when he reaches out and engages with me, it is incredibly meaningful, because I know that it was on a course to not happen at one point. You can't give up, right? Because that's the easy route. There is such meaning to their life and to yours by choosing to plug in, by refusing to say no, by refusing to give up, and by refusing to or by not relenting on finding something that you can enjoy and that you can relate to with your special needs child.